This is part 2 of our masterclass about learning how to learn in JavaScript and TypeScript. In the first part, we actually spent time dealing with one simple question. The question was, how would you retrieve from this list of users the one who has an X in their name? The question was quite trivial, but the implementation here was, the idea was to implement that, to answer that question by implementing that with 5 different functions, 5 different approaches that we did in version 1. So in this part, we're taking it onto another level. We're going to re-implement this function from scratch. Yeah, from zero. That's what we're going to do in this video. And we're going to take it step by step, explaining every single detail and making sure that you understand why this approach can make you better at writing code, period. You with me? Check that out. So right here, we have this user.forEach and so on and so forth. So with what we're going to do, we're first going to show which API we're going to go after and then start the implementation from there. So let's remove the user from here. And then we're going to pass it instead here as a second argument, as the first argument to the function. And what we're going to do next is start with the forEach. So what is a forEach? forEach is a simple function that would loop through the collection you provided, right? And then it takes a second argument, which is a callback. One thing most of people don't know is the callback actually takes more than one argument when you here say user, but it actually takes 2 more arguments, which include the index and also the initial collection, right? So let's move a little bit on the side here. It takes also the initial collection right there. So let's implement that forEach here together. So forEach, we're just going to use a simple function and we're gonna call it forEach. And right here, what we're going to do is to actually start with by passing the collection. We're just gonna call that in unknown because we actually don't know what's gonna be right there. And yes, I'm using TypeScript right here, and you should be using TypeScript. I'm actually working on a course which is going to be free here on YouTube, where you can learn how to use TypeScript if you're a JavaScript developer. But if you would like to see me re-implement this using TypeScript with just JavaScript, just write that in a comment and I will share a video with you once that's done. And then the second argument here is a callback. And that callback, it's actually a function. We're gonna use the keyword function right there as a way to make things easier for now. And toward the end of this implementation, I'm gonna show you how you can make sure that this code is well written, well typed. Okay, so let's get going here. What forEach does, it's just gonna loop. So it's just gonna be a JavaScript loop, and it's going to loop through the collection. And by doing so, it will get for each element, it will call the callback and pass the element. Okay, so let's make it easier here to grabs. I'm just gonna make sure that we put it right here and we can remove that part. Now, this is it. We have the implementation, and the proof there is we just need to go here and actually write what we want for our implementation for the forEach here. So if we want to answer that question, the user with an X in their name, we just need to say, hey, if user.name.include, and you see, as I'm typing, I'm not getting help from Visual Studio because I didn't type things right. And for most of JavaScript developers, that's basically your experience. That's your experience of writing code. I will show you, as I said, in a few minutes, how you can leverage types so that this thing becomes way easier to do. So I'm just gonna go here and say, if that thing has X, like this, what we want to do is being able to store that user as, oh, we found it. That's the user that we found right there. So the way we're gonna do that, because forEach doesn't actually return anything, we're just going to put the result in an object, and I put an object here because this is an object. This is an array of object, and I want to store the object here. So I'm just using the same shape there. I could have said undefined right there, and then like I could have just gone like this and then assign it. But I like to assign it up front because I know already the kind of the shape that's gonna come out of it. And then from here, I'm just gonna say result is user. And if we look into result, we're going to see that it's actually working. So our implementation here did work really well, and we're getting the result like that. Now, the things that are not being in use are index and collection. Well, as I said, they're there. They provide to you. If you need them, you can use them. And that's actually the official the way it is done in JavaScript. So in our implementation here, we're actually not saying it. We're just passing a function with a capital F, which is just a type in TypeScript. Okay. So the next step here is to show you how you can then leverage TypeScript to make sure that this entire thing is well typed. Buckle up. This is not beginner friendly. It's gonna get a little bit hard right away. If you're not a TypeScript developer, this can be challenging, okay? You with me? Check that out. So the way we do that is first, the callback, we're just gonna say, hey, we're just gonna pass a forEach. I'm just gonna call it a forEach callback. That's the name I'm gonna give to that type. And the way we're going to do that is to create an interface and call it the forEach callback. And now that interface, you see, from the moment I do that on line 21, it starts complaining, saying like, hey, that thing there, I don't see, it's not a function, it's not callable. So what we want to do is to make sure that that forEach callback, it's callable. So the way you do that is basically by creating a function signature. Here, I'm saying that it's a function, it's going to be callable. And that since it doesn't return anything, I can just go with the void right there. Okay. So now I need to tell it what goes inside as parameters. And as we saw here, right at the top here, we see that there are three things that this thing takes. So the first one is basically the item. The second one is the index. And the third one is the collection, right? I'm not giving any type right there, because I want you to see how this is just ugly when you don't give, you don't pass the type. But what is the type of item? What is the type of index? Index, I think we can guess it out. It's actually number, right? That's basically what it does right there. But what is the link between item and collection? Item is one element of the collection. So if we know the type of collection, then we know the type of item, right? So the way we're going to do that is to say, we don't know, but we're going to let the user set that out when they use it. Okay. So the way you do that, you use something called a generic. Okay. So a generic is basically a way to say that, hey, I don't know what that thing is going to be, but I will let the user decide what they want that thing to be whenever they use it. So now that you see it right there, it has the it's basically I defined the interface, the forEach callback, and it is a function. And then by doing so, I make sure that it could then be used right there. But as you can see now, it's complaining because we didn't set the forEach function as a generic, and we didn't set that generic value there. So what we're going to do is to basically set it up here. I'm just going to give it a different name just for the purpose here. And let me put it this way, right? And from the moment we have that, put it on the same line here, so then we can still see it. And now right here, you see it's complaining. I would like you to guess why that thing is complaining. It is complaining because we said forEach callback takes 3 arguments, but we made these 3 arguments mandatory. They're not mandatory. As you know, we often use the first one only. So the way you say that the other 2 are not there, you could say that, and you see kind of everything should start being okay. Not actually. So let me go back here. What you just do here, you put a question mark and another question mark right there. Now you see the error move from, hey, it's not the entire thing that is bugging, it's only that first thing. So I'll let you guess what that thing is saying. It's basically saying that that collection there is not well typed. It says, hey, the unknown thing is not okay. And that is correct. Now that we know what the collection, what that collection should be, we just not gonna say unknown. So here I just need to go with the U as a way to say it's gonna be a collection of U. And when we use that right here at the top, let's go back here. We didn't pass anything because TypeScript will be able to figure out that, oh, that thing is going to be an array of things that contains name and so on and so forth. We can check that out here. So let's go here and let's go back to this part, and we can then say user, and then you see there is name, and then it knows that name is a string, and then we go back to the right implementation this way, right? So that's basically what we had here. Let me remove the extra thing there. So that's it. That entire thing right there represents the implementation of forEach, the typing of the callback, and the testing part right there. That's it. That's basically the first function that we had to implement right there. And the other one will be a version of this, and we will be able to see way more things about JavaScript and the inner workings of these functions. If you like it, I would like to ask you something. Just give me that like, and the more like we get, we will be pushing awesome content like this one. For now, I'm gonna pause. I will see you on the next video where we're going to implement map and so on and so forth, filters, reduce and find. And one last thing. I know, I already said one last thing before. You can try it yourself. There is a gem for it. Check it on our platform. The link is in the description. Just give it a try and play with it. You will become better at doing it by following this process. I'll see you there. You take care. Cheers.